and dear to my heart. Rifle carbine, and you're going to hear me use those interchangeably as we go throughout the day. Yes, there is a definition and history behind it. I'm always about like where things came from, but we won't dive into that just because it's kind of lengthy. So if you hear me talk, say carbine, and you want to refer to it as a rifle or whatever, that's fine. That's fine. I'll use them interchangeably as we go, because for our purposes it fits. Okay, but it's near and dear to my heart. And then I got promoted out of being a combat medic, and I went and I was a team sergeant, and I ran company operations for a while, and then I got to pick my own team, and I did that. So in about 07, while I was still active duty, I started going to what I refer to as the armed citizen side of the house, because especially when I retired, I learned really quickly that when you call somebody a civilian, it's like a derogatory term. Okay. But you call them an armed citizen, which is exactly what everybody is when you make that decision to carry a firearm or have a firearm in your system to protect yourself and the people that you care about. You become an armed citizen, in my personal opinion. But then you're something. So I started on the armed citizen side. It was about 07, somewhere in that range. And shortly after that's when I kind of met Abner.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I was doing the military thing, but I was also teaching on the outside. So I've got a pretty wide experiential base in the military side and also out on the armed citizen side. And when I retired, I wanted to take that and continue to serve. And so I formed this company in 2018. Our workspace, whether it's pistol, rifle, shotgun, whatever. Okay, and our workspace is where we would give a round of applause. Okay, we don't do it up here, we don't do it down here. It's this space right here because it's like our head is attached to whatever weapon system we have. If the gun goes down, our head goes down. I'm not a big person on administratively handling firearms because I believe it creates bad habits, although there are a couple things that we can do. With the rifle, okay, as we have it, we can hit the magazine release with the muzzle averted down. We can take it out when I say top off magazines, and we can top them off, put it back in. That way I have muzzle control and awareness at all times. That would be administratively handling the gun, and that's for safety purposes. Seeing that armed citizen training with a rifle falls into two categories for the most part. Okay? And the first category, I would say probably about 90% of it probably falls in there. And Abner, you've done a lot with folks who, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's 25 yards and in. They use a rifle at CQB ranges, close quarter battle ranges, things that we would use a pistol for.
Yep.
Okay, and not that there's not application to that. We're going to do a bunch of that today and in the short range series because a lot of folks, armed citizens, employ one of these in the home. We are going to shoot and adjust our impact to the gray dot. The gray dot is 1.9 inches below. That's the trajectory at 10 yards for a 50, 200 yard zero. Okay? It gets you pretty darn close. What it allows us to do is, for the most part, we don't have to come forward. We can see where our impacts are, so we can make adjustments, and we don't have to make the range cold, come on down, look at it, etc., etc. Now, later this afternoon, when we get to that point, it'll be right after lunch, we're going to confirm this at 50 yards because we have the ability to do it on the range that we're at. And we always want to confirm when we use something like this. But I'll tell you from experience in using it quite a bit, it's pretty darn close. This generally happens. When I go like this, everybody goes whoop and backs up. You don't have to. Okay, my muzzle out of the way.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and if at any time I do something that is questionable, although I'm pretty darn muzzle aware, let me know. Call me out on it. Most definitely call me out on it. Because that's an important skill to have. Okay. What's that, baby?
I will.
Yeah, I know she will. So I can either use my index finger to see which side of the round it's on, or I can come back, if I don't want to change how I'm holding the magazine, to my master grip thumb. Okay. Turn it inboard, insert and tug. That way that I know that the magazine catch has grabbed it. Guess what I just did? I just defeated the major type of a Type 1 malfunction on a rifle. Now I got to let the bolt go forward and strip off a round. We can do it any way you want. There's several tactically viable ways. After I tug, I can come up and hit the bolt release that's on the left side. Okay. Do you got an ambi bolt release, Abner? Okay. How do you come underneath because you're left-handed? How do you do it?
I just do that.
Use your firing finger?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the bad levers are just, they're a wobble problem.
And they're unsafe, in my personal opinion. Is anybody running a bad
And
lever?
these guns run better for lefties anyways.
We'll talk about that at So we can hit that, okay? We can come up and grasp the charging handle, pinch it with my index finger and my thumb. We want to pull it back to its length of travel and then let it go. Let the springs do what they're designed to do and lock the gun into battery. Some people will come up if we have a larger charging handle and they like the karate chop. I think this one's weak, but hey, it's another viable way depending. Okay? It doesn't matter to me how you do it, as long as it fits in with certain principles and concepts. Okay, I want you to pick one that you like and then stick with it and build it into your system. It should be like a piston coming back into it. And we've learned this from my former job, because we tried all the different positions, can it off to the side, leg up, the way they used to teach, and 98% of the people, their route to success was to be as straight behind the gun as possible. Okay, if we have enough adjustability on our sling, go ahead and, or I might have to swim out of it. So I take this support hand and my elbow, I come underneath, and now it's like this, muzzle oriented towards safe direction, in this case toward the threader, and I'm going to get as straight behind the rifle as possible. Okay, notice I'm putting the magazine on the deck. Okay, wives' tale that's out there in the training community, and unfortunately it still is that if you put this on the deck, it's going to induce a malfunction. Okay, it is not true. Not with an AR style rifle, and everybody out here is shooting an AR style rifle, but it gives me an added level of stability. If I was going to use my sling and I swim into it, I can tighten it down to have another touch point. Okay, that's completely up to you. But the way I hold the rifle doesn't really change. I'm going to look for that pivot point in my shoulder. I'm going to get down behind it, and notice if you drew a line down the barrel of the gun, it's going to come into my shoulder, go down my spine, out the crack of my hind end, and my legs are nice and far apart. If you have the physical ability to lay your ankles flat, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine too. Okay, but the energy transfers into my body and gets dissipated into the ground, so I'm controlling the rifle. The rifle's not controlling me. Okay. Good. Make sure everybody gets a good natural point of aim. All right, I need the live shot. 5 rounds. 5 rounds. Get the trigger to the rear. Go ahead and begin at your leisure. Once you go ahead and make sure you point your feet. Alright, control it with our magic grip. Make sure that we're on safe. Let's go down and look and see what everybody did, and we can make adjustments if need be.
Yep, gotta go right just a skosh.
The difference between my sighting system and where the bullet comes out of the barrel is not a zeroing issue. It is a physical, mechanical difference between where I'm looking through with my line of vision, the zero I have, and where the bullet actually comes out. I can't change or fix a zero to make the 2 1/4 inches, is what this particular one is, difference. Okay, it's just a physical difference of where my red dot is in relation to where the bullet comes out. So if I want to put it right between the eyes in the box of this M3 Strategies target, and I put my red dot on it, everybody look at where my muzzle is. Okay, so it's, you know, about 2.5 inches low, give or take. I'm just kind of throwing it up there. So in order for me to make that technical or precise shot right between the eyes or in the craniocular vault of this head box, this M3, is I have to change where I put my red dot sight or front sight or chevron or crosshairs higher above to offset for that mechanical difference. So we're going to do this offset drill, and I'm going to demo just the closer range initially. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the number 10. Okay, we're going to use the number 10. It's about a 3.5 inch dot or 4 inch dot, something like that. Okay, and I want you to put your sighting system right in the middle of the 1 and the 0 on the 10. Okay, I'm also going to teach you low ready position to start off. We'll get 3 by the end of the day, but so we at least have 1 low ready position to work from this. Okay, and we're going to see where our bullet impacts in relation to where we put our sighting system. Okay? It might be here, it might be down here, who knows, it might be down here. So my pivot point, I'm going to use the lower part of the stock. Okay, I'm going to bring it more center line towards my collarbone, and notice how high it is. Okay, low ready is averting the muzzle down so I can see two very important things: the hands and the belt line. Because the hands are things that hold things that can do harm to me. Okay, the belt line, bad people keep bad things to do bad things to good people. But how far I elevate my muzzle down or depress my muzzle down is dependent on the proximity I am to that person. Okay, so if just say we were to use the 1-inch squares that are on this M3 target as a belt line, okay, as an example, I have to pull my muzzle that far down in order to see that belt line and where his hands would be. Okay, if I move back to 10, okay, because of the proximity of where I'm at, where I bring the muzzle down is going to be a whole lot less. Okay, does that make sense for everybody? Okay. The one thing that I will say with this low ready is I want the ability to move my head, because some people will do this, okay, or they'll do this here. Okay, in context, we want to keep situational awareness, so I want to be able to move that head left and right without hitting the gun until I decide to actually shoot and I've ascertained that they're a threat. Okay, so even if I'm relatively high, I can still look 180 where I think the perceived threats are going to be. Okay, when I make that decision and the gun snaps up, it's going to come into my line of vision as it's coming up because I've made the determination that I'm going to shoot. Safety comes off, finger starts rolling into the trigger, and I'm rolling that shoulder, bringing the sighting system into my line of vision. Bangity, bangity, bang until I get a desired effect. Follow through, assessing my work through my sights. Okay, I'm set up to shoot again if I need to. Once I've determined that I got a desired effect, I'm going to come back into that low ready. As I break the cheek weld, safety's going to go back on. My finger's already outside of the trigger. And hopefully at a point that if I get scared again, it doesn't go into the trigger guard. Okay, a point of register. And I can go on with my wide or fast protocol, my scans and topping off, etc. We'll hit here very shortly. Okay, so I'm going to come to that low ready. I know that we're lined up. I'm going to bring the gun up and I'm going to talk and demo at the same time. Okay, so I'm going to bring my sighting system into the middle of the 10, roll my finger in, and smoothly press it to the rear. Okay, safety back on. I come back down to low ready, and now we can see where that round is, okay, corresponding to the 10. That's a little bit more than 2¼ inches, right? Because I'm relatively close. Okay, and that's my calibrated eye, you know, it's roughly about that. So now I know that in order for me to move this around to where I want it to, in between the 1 and the 0, I need to aim that equivalent distance above. Okay, is everybody tracking so far? So now we're going to come back and we'll see if I can put it into 10. We'll see if I put it in 10 by applying that holdover. So I'm back in the low ready. I pop it up. I find my holdover. Okay, and that was pretty good. It was just on the top of it. Okay, safety went back on. It's in the 0. And what I want you to do now is I want you to aim in and put your sighting system on the number 10. On the number 10. Don't apply any holdover. Okay, safety's off. Roll your finger in on the trigger and one shot. Good. Safety's back on. Now I want you to apply the holdover. Put one round into the number 10. Threat. Go ahead and apply it. Good. One round in the 10. Begin. Look and see where your round went in relation to where your sighting system was. That's your holdover for 5 yards. We're going to put it in between the 1 and the 0. Everybody in that low ready and threat. Okay. All right, everybody get in that low ready. Low ready, lock your eyes. Shooting at the number 10. Put your sighting system on the number 10 and threat. Okay. All right, applying your holdover. One round in the number 10. Threat. And one round in the 9. Threat.
On the edge.
Everybody back to the low ready station.
On the edge.
All right, one round in the 8. Strut. Safety back on, finger outside the trigger, make sure we're on safe control with your master grip. Let's walk on down and see how everybody did. Okay, if there is a holdover, apply it, but just like with your pistol, when it comes up safety off, roll your finger in. There's not a whole lot of slack in that, but still take the slack, verify, and then smoothly press through. The sighting system isn't going to change, or excuse me, it's not. We're not going to stop it. And I'll explain that more as we go. Okay. Abner, how did you look there?
Good.
Oh, yeah,
Slightly off to the right because I'm a lefty.
Don't do that. $1 million instruction.
Yeah.
Make sure that you got it on camera. Okay. You make a fortune on it.
Pitch a Carol.
It could be a little natural point of aim. You know, because normally what I see is people go, and as they go back and do this, we get lazier and lazier.
Yeah.
And that's okay. You know, it's all right. That's still acceptable. But when we're striving for perfection, we're learning a controlled environment.
Down the middle.
So that's probably what it's just a little bit.
Okay.
How do we look at done?
It's just a terrible shot. Another one.
Okay. You done this once or twice?
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay. Did you check natural point of aim? Okay. It could be a little off on that.
I'll look here. Is it like a little to the left?
So what we're going to do is, a lot of times what I'll do with this as we go, it's irrelevant for what we're going to do up to lunch. We're going to check it at 50. I can't be there with you all the time. I can't be there with you all the time. So if I can make you self-aware and you understand the principles and concepts, and all of us miss. All of us miss, all of us screw stuff up. Okay, myself included. Okay, the quote Scott Jedelinsky, "The road to hell is paved by instructor demos." And normally I say it before I shoot any demo, because I try and talk and shoot, which is multitasking. Okay, and every once in a while I'll blow a shot. I miss is just like everybody else does. But if we're self-aware of what we did, we learn from that miss and we're able to apply and fix it, okay, you don't need me then in practice. And you develop good pathways and you strengthen them so that you have the ability to access them when we're in an adrenalized state. So that was a perfect example of that. So that's my goal. That's my goal, is to get you guys self-aware and understand principles and concepts. What are you doing here? Sean, looking pretty good, man.
Yeah, I don't remember which was which.
Okay.
But I'm getting like a lot of sway.
Yep.
But I got them in the circle.
Okay. I'm gonna address that and acceptable sight picture sight alignment here in a little bit. Two things that I want to cover, because you know, throughout this course what we're going to be doing is a lot of skill set and isolation work. Okay, but we have to understand how things fit into context. Okay, and now we're at the point where we're going to start adding a little bit of context to these skill set and isolation, or micro drills. Okay, so you've heard me refer to the WIAT and the FAST protocol already. How many folks are familiar with the WIAT or FAST protocol? I've heard it before. Okay.
I read the stuff you sent, so yeah.
Okay, yeah, if you did the pre-reading of the things that we sent you, see, you didn't know that there was going to be a test, did you?
I read this stoppage instead of malfunction.
He looked at the pictures.
I'm taking them all out next time.
But regardless of whether you read it or not, there was an article in there about where this comes from. But what it is it's a mental checklist of what to do when we're in an adrenalized state. So I get it to here, and now I got to acquire that magazine. So for me, like I said, I do it just like my pistol magazines, where my index finger is, okay, because that's my pointer. Okay, I've got the base of the magazine in the meaty part of my hand, because when I'm in that adrenalized state, we do lose some fine dexterity, okay, and my fingers turn to flippers. Now I'm going to transfer it over so it's between my index finger and my middle finger, but I've got control of it. I come up, I grab the other magazine in my pinchers, my thumb and my index finger, hit the magazine release, insert and tug, and this is another reason having it in the pad of my hand. Now it's loaded back up and I can stow this partially depleted magazine in a pocket pouch or dump pouch or whatever the case may be. Okay, so that's one way that we can do it. Okay? Another way is people will acquire the magazine, they'll come up and L it, and this really is dependent on hand strength and size. Hit the magazine release, and see, I can't even barely insert and tug and then stow. Okay? Could I potentially drop this? Yep, absolutely. We'll talk about picking things up off of the ground and situational awareness a little bit later on. I don't want to saturate you guys too much right now. Okay, so we can L it again if we so desire. That's another proof technique, insert and tug. And I'm going to turn this way so everybody can see. Again, I'm going to bring it into my workspace. I'm going to get this magazine and I'm going to bring it parallel and high on the gun. Hit the magazine release. Okay, parallel and high. Insert and tug, and then transfer hands and stow that. Okay, so I'm here, I'm in that appropriate low ready. I'll give you a begin and then it's on you to go all the way through. I'm going to apply that holdover. Okay, yep, in the ear hole where I wanted it to. I assess my work through my sights. I'm going to do at least a 180 scan, take a breath, and then I'm going to go to the next one. And you can work down to the left, across and back down. I don't care what order you go in. We're going to go to the next one. I'm going to apply that holdover. A little bit more. I'm going to assess and scan. Okay, things were good there. Take a breath. Going to go to the next one. Apply the holdover. Okay, assess and scan. Now I've shot a few rounds here, so I'm going to bring it into my workspace. I'm keeping my head up. I'm going to do a proactive reload, insert and tug. I'm still looking around and assessing my situation. Stow that, establish my grip back into the low ready, and I'm good to go. Hey, moving on to the next one. I take my obligatory breath to get myself under control. Okay, creased her hood on that one, but would her head be there?
No.
Nope. And Callie hates me half the time anyway, so if I you know, push the envelope just a little bit, it's probably because we're arguing.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, everybody.
Not half the time.
Assess and scan, take that breath, okay, and the last one, the least amount of exposure, okay, and so we scale up and scale down our speed when we press the trigger by the amount of exposure. So I'll probably slow down a little bit here, okay, apply the holdover, okay, and assess and scan, and those are pretty good. They look like they went in the eyeball hole. Head up on a swivel. I'm going to proactive reload again so I get the practice, insert and tug, and then go ahead and stow that up and relax. Full drill. Okay, 2 rounds in each of the bad guys, 5 targets, total of 10 rounds at your own pace. Okay, but remember, take each target as its own individual event and problem set. We can only deal with one problem at a time. Don't be thinking ahead. All right, everybody look good. Go ahead and assume a low ready. And begin. Press. Good. Now, this is something that we have to continue to practice and cultivate, because even teen guys, we would go out, we would shoot similar drills at the beginning, and we would have to remind them, hey, remember your mechanical offset, because it's something that's not intuitive for us. Now, if we're shooting high center chest, okay, that's a relatively big target area. Does a couple inches make a difference? No. But if I want to put it in the eyeball or an elbow or your big toe or whatever the case may be, okay, then I need to know that mechanical offset and where I need to put the sighting system in order to get the bolt to go where I want to. That's something that takes some practice. Okay, it's something that takes some practice. So we're just building that base. 5 dry fires. Okay, then you go through your loading sequence, so you get practice doing that. Everybody then takes their obligatory deep breath because we're ready. You're ready to go live. And so I always know when everybody has chambered around, because you know we're going to be racking and doing various things, and I'll go through it and explain it and demo it. So everybody, let's cover up eyes and ears, okay? Because I'm going to go right from the dry fire to my loading sequence, and then into live fire. Now, there's one point in this as we do this 5-in-1 is we have to recharge it, right? Because not having the explosion do the cycle function for me. So I have to do it. Now, what I recommend and what I do personally, that's an administrative action when I have to cock the gun. Okay? I say out loud, you guys are going to hear me say it. You don't have to say it out loud. At least in your head, I say administrative action so that I know that it's a different act outside the routine that is actually firing the gun. Because if we do a lot of dry firing and we build that pathway, whether it's a good pathway or a bad pathway, and strengthen it and reinforce it, that's what we're going to do when it comes time to shoot. Banging them when you're reaching up and trying to recock the gun. Okay? So if I say administrative action, it's a completely different thing. I get out of my combat bubble, I get back into my combat bubble, and then I continue on with what I'm doing. So hopefully it'll make more sense here in a second. Okay, I'm already locked to the rear. I'm gonna get up on my workspace. I expect the chamber bull face and magazine well. I'm gonna let this go forward. My safety is on. For this instance, we're doing the roll ready. Ears on, so I'm just not. Okay. Get it in that pivot point. I'm going to check natural point of aim. I'm already calculating what my holdover is for this particular distance to get the bullet to go, in this case, between the eyes, hopefully. Okay. Check that natural point of aim. Okay, it's good. And now I'm going to begin. For you guys, the 5-in-1. For me, the 3-in-1. So I'm here. Safety comes off. I apply the holdover. Smoothly press the trigger to the rear. Okay, that was a little bit down and to the left. Okay. Administrative action. Safety back on. Get back into my combat bubble. Here I am, ready to go. Drive it into my workspace. Bring it into my line of vision. Safety off. Apply the holdover. Okay, pretty much dead on. Administrative action. Safety back on. Back in the low ready. One more time, thumbs up. Administrative action, safety on. Now I'm going to go through my loading sequence. So for you guys, after the 5th evolution, okay. So I've got my magazine. I'm on the right side. Insert and tug. In this instance, I got to roll the bolt to the rear. Length of travel, let it go. I swim back into my sling. Safety's still on. I'm in my low ready. Obligatory deep breath. Now everything is the same. One comes up, safety comes off. I find my sight. I apply the holdover and assess and scan. And we can do that every time during dry fire also if we want to solidify it. Bring it into my workspace. Go through my unloading sequence. And then we can do it again, okay? I want 2 iterations of this. So you'll get 10 dry fires, okay? 2 loading sequences, 2 live fires, 2 unloading sequences. Good, looking good. No, so you're gonna do 5 dry fires. Okay. Then you're gonna load up. You're gonna shoot 1 live fire. You're gonna go through your unloading sequence. You're gonna do 5 more dry fires. Load up, 1 more live fire, then realistic contact. If I was here and I'm doing something, we'll learn to start working. You know, for us right-handed. It was a good help. With the rifle.
They're used with her to charge?
Yep. So, depending on where our swing is, if something happens, I have control of the gun and the firing mechanism. I could actually. Okay.
Man, that'll burn your shoulders real quick.
And like I said, I give Reed credit, and I know he got it from Paul, but it's a great drill because it solidifies so many different things with limited amount of rounds, especially when COVID and stuff was going on. Pistol or rifle or whatever, if I do this, you know, we do it times 3, it's 15 dry fires, 3 loading sequences, 3 live fires, 3 unloading sequences, and you shoot 3 whole rounds.
Yeah.
But a whole lot of practice.
And what's interesting about this is I've gone out to the range for 1 session and not done dry fire. I've just driven out, set up, and shot cold and had a bunch of misses. Went out the next time, like 4 or 5 days later, did the dry fire sequences, and all of a sudden I was stacking bullets.
Yep.
All because of the dry fire reps. It matters.
It absolutely does. It absolutely does.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. When we start to turn, it adds complexity and it cuts down. If something's going on over here, I want to go there. I have to shift my weight, figure out what I'm doing, and go that way, which costs me time. If I'm here, I can go left, right, diagonal, all that, and I'm just bringing the gun up in my position. So Abner, you're going to see this over the shoulder roll in the close proximity stuff next week. It's a new aspect that I've been working on in addition to the other ones that I teach, but it has a lot of application with a rifle, vehicle, in the house, in and around people, close proximity. It's defensive, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I ran a Mark 18 at a vehicle class several years ago.
Yeah.
And even a Mark 18, if you're not running it properly in a vehicle, is still too long for vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so over the shoulder does matter.
Yep. Like I said, I can do the same thing with a 10.5 inch, with a 20 inch in a vehicle, just because I know how to compress it.
Right. Yeah.
So, but a lot of guys don't want to spend the time to learn it.
That's right. This is work. This is a lot of work.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
Absolutely is. Good job.
Is that a factory gun?
Say again?
Is that a factory gun?
It's an edge lower, BCM upper.
Okay. Looks like it's got good balance.
Yeah, it's good. I love it.
Cool.
Yep. That's your dominant hand, so you're doing stuff.
What, are you jealous?
No, I'm not jealous at all.
But no, it looks really good, man.
Did you see it? Is that why you're way down there?
No, it's just, it goes.
A couple others, I think. But if it's applicable with the pistol, it's applicable with the rifle. Now, notice I said for armed citizens, if I was teaching law enforcement or military, it's a little bit different because we work with partners and teams, and me applying movement or applied tactics and stepping offline might not be advantageous to me because I might step in. It is spring turkey season.
Like, shit, I see guns.
Yeah, exactly.
Most of the time they just kind of hang out. So
Slight miscalculation. That turkey was like, whoa!
Be a bunch of celiac
What
killer
in
because
the-
as soon as that turkey started walking across, it got the vibe that it was going to get shot, and it decided to move with a purpose to get out of here.
You are not safe there either, mister.
Nope. We're within our capabilities. So, military law enforcement context is a little bit different because me applying movement in that particular way, I might be stepping into somebody else's line of fire. Okay? But for us, it can work to our advantage. So what we're going to do, guys, and I'm not going to shoot yet, I'm just going to kind of demo. What you will hear from now on as we get into position after we check natural point of aim or what have you, if it's applicable to that drill, is ready position of choice. High ready, low ready, over the shoulder roll. I know you're going to gravitate towards one that you like, that's cool, but as we continue to do subsequent evolutions of the drill, make sure you rotate through the different ready positions as we're doing it, so you get familiarity and practice while we're here. That's why you all came out, right? So we get a little bit of repetition. So we're going to cover down on our targets. We're now going to move to the high center chest. Okay, disregard the little dotted line box that's on there. Okay, what I want you to concentrate on is where the heart, lungs, and the big vessels are, because we can see them. Okay, the box is irrelevant to me. What I'm looking for now is we shoot and we're applying tactics in more of a combat application, if you will, is that you have combat effective hits or threat effective hits. So we'll look at the anatomy while we're down there. And now that we have a larger and more forgiving target size, okay, we can be a little bit quicker when the sight is in there. So what we have to learn is what is an acceptable sight alignment in an acceptable target area, and if it's there, depress the trigger. Cycle of function, cycle of recoil, assess your work through your sights, do it again if it's still a threat, conduct your scans in that if it isn't. So it doesn't have to be perfect, guys. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now we need to be able to throttle up and throttle down depending on the target size we have. You guys have been shooting the cranial ocular vault in the face. Okay, we obviously have to slow down a little bit and apply our holdover. I still want you applying holdovers here, but we can pick the pace up. Okay, and we're going to apply that lateral step. So again, I'm not shooting on this, but I'm going to get myself all set, okay, in a good fighting mobile stance in that ready position of choice, and I will call out the direction initially, okay, just so everybody is clear. That way is left. That way is right. Inevitably, every class I say, we're going to the left, moving to the left, and somebody goes the opposite way. It's okay if somebody does. If you bounce off somebody, just be muzzle aware, trigger finger aware, fight through the problem, because out in the world, you're probably going to bump into somebody. So I'm here, and in this instance, I'm going to move to the left. Now, because it's a single lateral step, all I'm going to do is step, drag my foot, and where are my feet? Back in my fighting mobile stance, right? As I'm doing that, the gun is going to be presented out. When my feet get locked into place, it's going to come up, and I'm going to apply the fundamentals with the prescribed number of rounds that I say. Okay, and I will tell you what number of rounds we're going to shoot. If I go to another ready position and we're going to the right, I'm going to step, drag, drive the gun up, safety comes off, apply my holdover, and shoot the prescribed number of rounds, assess and scan, and top off where applicable. Here, ready position of choice, high ready, low ready, over the shoulder roll, stepping to the left, one step. 3 rounds, high center chest, 3 rounds, high center chest. Threat, I'm gonna step, plant my feet, present the gun, assess and scan, and then go to a different ready position. Okay, stepping to the right, anywhere from 3 to 5 rounds, 3 to 5 rounds. Threat, I'm gonna step, drive the gun, find my sight. My sight was in an acceptable target area. As soon as I saw it was there, I depressed the trigger. If my red dot wasn't in an acceptable target area, we got to exercise a little bit of tactical patience and get it there. That sight is indicative of where the round is going to go. My sights dictate the speed that I can do this. If we try to go fast, the wheels fall off and everything falls apart. So I never sacrifice marksmanship for speed. I always apply marksmanship and I work with efficiency. Quickness will come and we won't even know that it's going to happen. Okay? So part of that is, and how we do that is we're training our eyes to see our sighting system in an acceptable target area so I can do this quicker. Okay? If it's there, it doesn't have to be perfect, make it happen. Assess and scan, top off when you need to. Does that make sense? We are moving to the left, moving to your left. 3 to 5 rounds, high center chest. 3 to 5 rounds, high center chest. And threat. Yep.
I just realized I shot your target, not just my target.
Put your hand out like this.
That's why your target has so many holes in it.
Oh, no, I know.
Because I shot it too.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, good.
Because
Well, thank you.
usually what I do this is
Lovely.
shift left and shoot the target on your left. Shift
I did
right and shoot.
that. The 6
So we're shifting left and still shooting our own target.
Yeah.
Oh, so I'm the one that just pulled the boner.
That's okay.
Woo!
He got the higher ones in the neck.
Hey, and the guys, it doesn't matter because all your rounds are going about before that gravel road there and getting embedded in the dirt. So it doesn't matter if we're off angle a little bit. Yeah, shoot your target. My mistake, y'all's fault. There you go. See, Abner did that. We had that planned. You see where all his rounds went, where that dirt was? So we're safely capturing those rounds. All right, now we're going to go to the right. Go to the right. Get them in a ready position of choice. High ready, low ready, over the shoulder roll. Going to the right. 2 to 4 rounds. 2 to 4 rounds. Assess and scan. Top off when necessary. Threat. Good. Scan your world. Make sure there's no other threat. Everybody get them up in your workspace. Conduct a proactive reload. Conduct a proactive reload.
That's my empty one.
I'm gonna make you practice. Oh crap, I don't know what to do with that magazine.
I know, that's what I did. I pulled out my empty one.
There you go. All right, everybody got them up and running. Get back in your combat bubbles. Going to the left. Going to the left. You don't have to cover back down on your target. We're just gonna go back the opposite way. So going back to the left. Going back to the left. 3 to 5 rounds. High center chest. Right. Good. Assess and scan. Excellent. Last time we're going to go back to the right. Go back to the right. 2 to 4 rounds. 2 to 4 rounds. Threat. That's your world. Make sure there's nobody else there that needs to get a little bit of loving. Top them off if you so desire. Once they're in a condition that you're happy with, go ahead and hang them on the sling, control them with your master grip, and relax. I think a lot of people do it the wrong way, or the opposite way, and they shoot less rounds with pistol, less kinetic energy transfer, and in rifle classes shoot more rounds with the rifle, more kinetic energy transfer, which should mean less rounds to stop the threat. Okay? So what happens if I'm shooting this dude 2, 3, 4 times in the chest, or do that, because we don't know who the attacker is going to be. It could be a guy that looks like he just got out of prison. It could be a female. It could be a pregnant female. It could be a 12-year-old kid. We need to make more ethical decisions of where your proverbial line in the sand is, or what is your willingness of what you're going to do to protect yourself and the people you care about. Because here in Nashville several years ago, we had a music artist killed on his back porch by 5 minors. A 12-year-old, a 13-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 16-year-old, and then there was one other one. I can't remember all the ages, but at the time. Could you, if they were a threat to you or people that you care about, shoot a 10, 12, 14-year-old kid or a female? Okay. I can't make those decisions for you. Hopefully you've thought about it and made them already. Okay. But anyway, I shoot 2, 3, 4 times. Nice high center chest. I'm calling my shots. I know that I'm not getting a desired effect. Okay. I don't care why I'm not getting a desired effect. Okay. They could be hopped up on drugs. Hell, they could have body armor because you can buy it. Okay. Maybe they're just, gorilla fits out there, Greg Elefits,
Yeah.
who could take multiple rounds. He's just a tough dude, and they got a lot of adrenaline in their system, and they're hell-bent on hurting you. Okay. Why I'm not having the desired effect, I don't care, but I have to have another option. Now, traditionally in the training industry, and it's still taught out there, is the failure drill, or the Mozambique. Okay, made famous by Jeff Cooper and a variety of other people at Gunsight, and still taught to this day in schools, where we do 2 to the body and automatically 1 to the head. That's great, but it doesn't really fit into realistic context. First of all, we're not assessing our work for ourselves and seeing if we get a desired effect or not. We automatically train ourselves, no matter what the circumstances, is to shoot 2 to the body and automatically go 1 to the head. Well, there's a problem with that. What happens if they fall down after 1 shot? And I've created this little pathway where I've trained myself to shoot 2 to the body, 1 to the head, whether the body and the head are there or not. That's bad. in my opinion. That's a technical term. The head also is a relatively small area. If we look at the anatomy of it back there, this is a really small triangle, and this target is reduced. It's the skinniest dude on the planet. Okay, but I picked it for a reason. More precise application of the fundamentals of marksmanship. Okay, but it's about a 5-inch circle. If we're talking about headshots, we're going from just above the eyebrows across and down this upside down triangle to about the bridge of the nose, right where the mustache is. Okay, anywhere else, top of the head, hard skull. I got hard bony structure that's here in my cheeks, and then here in the teeth, there's a bunch of cavity that's there. Okay, I might get enough penetration if I'm center line and hit the spine and get a CNS stopping of it, but I can't rely on that. The other thing is the head is always in constant motion. Just like Jack Wilson, he goes, I didn't normally train to shoot for the head. It was the only thing that was available to me, and it worked out for him. He was confident in his ability. But we need to have another option until either I get a desired effect, or I can slow and soften them up enough that this slows down and I can make that final shot if they're still a threat. Does everybody follow me? So we look at going to the pelvic girdle. With a rifle specifically, very, very effective if we shoot them in the right spot. We will get a mobility stop on them. The one thing that we have to worry about, though, when we shoot people in the pelvis, they will go down if we hit them in the right spot. They absolutely will go down. What do they still have use of? The hands, right? So we have to follow them down because of the situation, not because I've trained that so I do it automatically, but I follow that I'm assessing, are they still a threat? Do I still need to give them a little bit of love? Hopefully we're using a little bit of visualization because it's a very powerful tool, and we're visualizing that this is somebody that's trying to hurt us or somebody that we love, and I'm looking to see, as I assess my work through my sights, am I getting a desired effect? Okay. When we hit 2 or 3, whatever number you predetermine after I say it, okay, we need to start looking for other options because we didn't get a desired effect. We're going to move down to the pelvic girdle. Okay, 1 to 2 shots. They could be 1 to 2 shots on one side, 1 shot. I don't matter. What we don't want is right in the center, because even though there's gray there, okay, that's the bottom of the spine or the coccyx. There's no nerve endings really there. Yeah, it's going to suck for that person, and they're going to have a colostomy bag for the rest of their life. But it's not a mobility or a fight-stopping hit. So we got to destabilize the pelvis. Okay, so 1 to 2 shots. If that doesn't do the trick, I'm going to walk them up the spine, stay in center line, hoping I get enough deep penetration that somewhere between here and here, I get a CNS stop and they drop. Okay, if not, I'm softening them up so the head slows down and I can throttle back, get a precise sight alignment with application of holdover, and put a precise shot in between the eyes. Okay, so 2 to 3 shots here, 1 to 2 in the pelvis, and then stitch them up center line until we end at the head. How many rounds that takes from pelvis to head is really on you. What I don't want to see, though, is pelvis to head, because it defeats the purpose. Like I said, we need a little bit of visualization as we're doing this, realizing that, yep, that didn't work. And we're going to add to this drill tomorrow, and you're going to see how we can add realism to it. Okay? Is everybody tracking so far? So stitch them up drill, 2 to 3 rounds to the chest, go to the pelvis and work your way up center line, finishing with the head. Threat, I'm going to come up. Assess and scan. Top it off, we had the ability to do so. I gave my magazine to somebody else, assess my situation, and then relax. So we'll look at bullet placement here. I got a little quick here, but is that an acceptable round? If we think about actual anatomy and the size of a regular person, yeah, it actually is. So I went fast because the situation dictated it, and I let the sights dictate. It was somewhere in this acceptable area, so I made the gun go bang. Went down to here, slowed up a little bit, 2 good shots, and worked my way to the top. And I didn't do as many coming up the spine because I knew I had limited rounds. Okay, but that's a stitch 'em up drill. And any questions on that? All right, everybody looks good. 2 to 3 rounds to the chest. 1 to 2 rounds to the pelvis, stitching them up center line, dropping at the head. Threat. and I'm moving around, especially if I'm in an anxiety state or a stress state with adrenaline. Maybe I've been running to get to cover, you know, I'm just scared. Okay? That sighting system is going to be moving all over the place. So just like I talked about up close, we have to understand what's acceptable sight alignment in an acceptable target area and know that it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay? Just make the shot. Just make the shot and follow through and assess your work through your sights. But if it's getting outside of that acceptable target area, I want to be able to settle my sighting system for a nanosecond in order to give me time to break the shot. So this is where muscular contraction and then relaxation after the fact comes into play. And we can do what we call stretching the gun, meaning I'm going to try and tear the upper and lower receiver in half. Okay? So what that means is with my support hand here and my master grip here, once I get it in that area and it's moving around, I'm going to put that isometric tension, that forward push with my support hand, pulling back with my master grip, and try to tear the gun in half. And what that is doing is it's going to stabilize that sighting system for just enough time for me to apply the fundamentals to break the shot with that sighting system being in an acceptable target area. Okay. Now, does everybody understand what I said so far? Now, with that though, this is a very fatiguing position. Okay. So just like low ready, how we start to get fatigued, when I have that muscular contraction with that isometric tension of me stretching the gun and trying to tear it apart, okay, I'm going to get fatigued and the gun is really going to start moving. So I get it to roughly where it's at. I'm going to stretch the gun, okay, break the shot, and then relax. If I get to this point, okay, and hopefully I've applied tactics, maybe I have a barrier or cover in between me and them. If I stretch the gun and it's not there, I don't want to force it, okay? Relax, take a breath, stretch the gun again, and make sure that the sight's in an acceptable target area for you to break the trigger. Is everybody tracking with that so far? Okay, it works, but we have to understand that contraction and relaxation as we go through this, because otherwise I'm going to try and contract it, and then it's going to be counterproductive. That sighting system is moving all over the damn place, especially you magnified optics guys. Okay.
And your shooting hand is keeping contact with the stock, right?
Yes.
When you do this?
So I have my stock in, I'm pulling back with my 3 amigos, and I'm taking my support hand, and my laser works really good for me. Notice I only use really these fingers, because this one's pointing. So when I go to stretch that gun, I'm just using my Tennessee driving finger and my thumb, and I'm stretching it that way. And you'll see me point my fingers just because I don't want any added tension to start torquing the gun.
Right.
So I'm stretching it, isometric tension, push, pull, relax when I'm done, or I need a break.
Okay.
Okay. And so try to apply that as we're shooting standing offhand at this distance. Okay. So now we're going to integrate the emergency reload. And the reason that we came back to this distance is, like I explained prior to us taking a break, is I don't want to do it when I'm in relatively close proximity because I'm never going to get it accomplished. Okay. So now I have a little bit of distance that equates to time, and I have the ability to do the event or the act that I was planning on doing, which is an emergency reload. So I'm going to go ahead and do a proactive reload. Insert and tug, switching out the fully loaded magazine with the empty magazine, and I have a round in the chamber. Hopefully. Okay. Now I can get in a ready position of choice. Okay. So we're going to do an emergency reload. We're going to shoot till we have bolt lock, conduct an emergency reload, and then shoot 3 more rounds, all being in the high center chest. If you got to stabilize the dot, stretch the gun. Okay. And here we go. So threat, gun comes up, I'm going to stretch it and stabilize it. Okay, different felt recoil, drop that magazine, insert and tug forward, drive the gun out, assess my situation. Assess and scan. I see it in my periphery, I'm going to get it into a position of strength. I've got that tactile reference of where it's at. In this instance, I'm just going to put it back into my mag pouch. I stand back up, I assess my situation, and then I conduct that proactive reload again. Insert and tug, stow, and then I'm back and ready to go again and set up. Now notice I didn't say anything about applying the safety for the reload portion. And this is my thoughts on it. Okay? I know that there are some people out there that say, attempt to put the weapon on safe before we transition or before we do an emergency reload or whatever. And this is my opinion, take it for what it's worth. The gun isn't going bang. Doesn't matter why, the gun is not going bang. So I'm doing the emergency reload because in this instance I had a different felt recoil and I know it's time to put more bang bangs in there. So I'm not going to take the time to put the weapon on safe. I'm doing the reload, and as I drive the gun out and assess the situation, okay, if I was in a fight, chances are pretty good that I'm still going to be in that fight, but I got to make sure that the situation didn't change. Okay, I can engage, and then once I'm done, safety can go on as I break that cheek weld and I do my assessment and scans. Okay, that is my thought process on it, that the safety doesn't go on till the end. The gun ain't going bang anyway. It's not going bang. I got to get it back up and run it. It's the same thing when we start addressing transitions. Like attempt to put the weapon on safe as we clear our center line and get it out of the way. Well, the gun doesn't work for some reason, whether it's empty, a malfunction, whatever the case may be. Big gun isn't working, I'm going to little gun. Okay? I'm getting it out of the way and going to work because time is of the essence. We're going to do the emergency reload drill. Fire till you feel that different felt recoil of bolt lock. Conduct an emergency reload and then fire 3 rounds, all rounds going into high center chest. Assess and scan and then pick up your empty magazine, muzzle towards the throat. And here we go. Threat. Threat. Ken, what are you doing, man? Why are we using this hand? Put it up.
You want this hand?
There we go. Finish the drill. Continue on. Fight through. Excellent, excellent work. Better. Finish drill and threat. Take a breath. Drive it out. Excellent. Good. Assess and scan. Don't forget about the rest of the world. Patience when we execute this emergency reload. Now we apply it into context where we step offline, get behind cover, etc. But the most common missed shot with a rifle is when we do that emergency reload and just throw the gun up there and disregard our sights because we think we have to go faster. We have some problems when the bolt locks to the rear because time is of the essence, that we try to go faster instead of working efficiently. Okay, working efficiently leads to quickness. That coupled with decisive action and aggression help us come out on top if we find ourselves in a confrontation. Okay. But we try and go faster as opposed to working more efficient. We sometimes have to take a nanosecond breath, exercise tactical patience, fight through the problem that we have, because if another problem arises, we think we have to go faster again. And it becomes a snowball effect. And by the time we finally get the gun loaded back up, we just throw it out there and disregard all the fundamentals that we talked about and just start making the gun make noise. And that doesn't work well for us. So as counterintuitive and as hard as it is, when it comes time for me to do that emergency reload and I get it done, as I drive that out and I assess that situation, I got to take a nanosecond breath, exercise that tactical patience, and make sure that my sights are aligned, my sighting system is aligned in an acceptable target area before I make it go bang. Okay? Speed is fine, accuracy is final. Mother Teresa said that. Actually, Wyatt Earp said it, but it's a lot cooler when we attribute it to Mother Teresa. So we got to work with efficiency. Which knee you go down to, I don't really care. But traditionally, Whatever your dominant hand is and the way our stance is set up, that's the knee that we go down on. Because all I'm doing is shifting that position. So I decide I want to do that positional shift to reduce my silhouette, gain a little bit of stability without sacrificing mobility, and maybe utilize cover to my advantage if possible. I'm going to drop into that speed knee, and then all the same principles apply. My fundamentals of marksmanship, if I have to settle the dot, I can stretch the gun, applying that isometric tension. I can make the hits that I need, and when it's time for me to move, if I make that determination that I want to get somewhere else to a piece of cover or to a more advantageous position, gun's on safe, I'm not shooting anymore, I can do a quick look around, I bring it into that position of strength, and I can use my support hand to help generate that power to get me up and moving. So it's a very quick position to get in and add a level of stability, and it's a real quick position to get out of. So what we're going to do at this distance, and we should be good with where the targets are, actually we're going to go back to the 35, because I know that one's good. And we're going to start standing offhand here in a ready position of choice, and on the threat command, we're going to drop down into that speed mode, stretch the gun if you so desire, shoot the prescribed number of rounds, assess your work through your sight, conduct your initial scans, get it in a position of strength, stand up, and survey your area to make sure everything is good. We're just going to do that 2 or 3 times, okay? And then we'll wrap up for the day. All right, here we go. Speed 25 rounds to the chest, and threat. Here we go, and threat. All right, boys and girls, any questions on that? Any questions on anything that we have done all day? Okay. I was very encouraged to see as we were doing the speed knee, and I know we only did limited evolutions of it, because like I said, it's not very different from standing offhand. We're just doing a positional shift. All the principles and concepts still apply. Firing the gun, it's just the basics. That's all it is. But what I noticed is some people went to bolt lock and had to do an emergency reload, and everybody executed it.
Always make it challenging.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You guys got the principles and concepts of these various things. You got the foundation of a system now, because if you think back of all the things that we've covered today, and I mean, think about even if we would stop at lunch and didn't do any more. Obviously, we continued on, but did you guys have a base, the tools to, if we would have left, to be able to employ that rifle to protect yourself and the people you care about? I think so. I think so. We had the fundamentals. We had at least one ready position. Okay, we applied those fundamentals. We had proactive reload. We could take those rifles and protect ourselves if we needed to. And then we just added more layers on as we went. But nothing changed. The fundamentals were all the same. We just added another brick to that foundation as we went. From now on in subsequent classes, hopefully, you know, everybody comes back. You know how to do those proactive reloads. Do them when you feel that it's appropriate. Keep the gun up and running. If you do inadvertently get to emergency or bolt lock, do that reload. You know how to do it. Stay in the fight. It's just a problem, guys. That's all it is. It's just a problem, and we got to be able to critically think and problem solve. We're just doing it with a firearm. Sometimes we're doing it in peril for our life, but it's still just a problem for us to work through. Don't let the chaos envelope you. Okay? Take a nanosecond breath, exercise tactical patience, fight through the problem, and then finish the fight. Okay? Go home at night to the people that you care about the most. You have that responsibility when we become an armed citizen. Okay. Questions, comments, or concerns?
I'm not wearing those shoes tomorrow.
You're not wearing those shoes tomorrow?
Solomon's, right?
Yeah, that right there sucks.
Yes.
That's it burns the shit out of my feet.
Get 'em?
I've had them for a while, but of course, I
Goodwill.
They
Look
get
into
hot.
Topo or Ultras. They're really wide. The toe boxes are really wide.
Victos Combat got me. That's my shameless plug for Victos. I have really messed up feet, so I have to be very, very particular with the footwear that I have.
Yeah.
If not, it's going to be bad enough tonight when I sit down and in the morning. If I have bad footwear on, I'm crippled in the morning. It takes me, I don't know, 45 minutes or an hour, and I'm hobbling around.
I love it. I can kick them down the
Coming out
steps, all kinds of
All
fun
day I've
stuff.
been sticking that foot in
I dig it. I will make fun of you like crazy, but
Okay, I'll put him in cruiser mode.
Really?
Really?
I love
Kept
it
getting
back
hot.
there.
I'm like, what?
all right, guys. A couple things need to happen. Okay, Callie's going to take.